Today, the Las Vegas Strip looks like a place that should not exist. A pyramid fires a beam of light into space, a volcano erupts beside the traffic. But 80 years ago, this was almost nothing. Just a dusty two-lane highway, a few roadside motels, and a handful of gamblers, soldiers, and dreamers betting that people would drive into the desert for something they couldn't find anywhere else. What came next is one of the wildest transformations in American history. Mob money, atomic bomb parties, the Rat Pack, a bitter fight over who was even allowed inside. The Strip was never designed. It evolved decade by decade, each one stacking a wilder fantasy on the last. So, using AI, I am rebuilding it all in color, from the 1940s to the 1990s. So let's start where the fantasy began, before the towers, before the fountains, before the Strip even looked like the Strip. In the 1940s, the Strip wasn't a strip at all. It was a gamble on the desert itself. Nevada had legalized wide-open casino gambling back in 1931, but the land south of Las Vegas was still mostly empty scrub. Then, World War II changed the math. The new Las Vegas Army Airfield, built in 1941, flooded the area with soldiers, and the Highway 91 brought a steady stream of road trippers up from California. Suddenly, this lonely stretch of sand was full of people with money and nowhere to spend it, and a strange crowd of dreamers, casino operators, entertainers, and mob financiers all saw the exact same thing: empty land that could be turned into cash. The first to prove it was El Rancho Vegas, which opened on April 3, 1941, the very first resort on what would become the Strip. Look closely at this reconstruction and notice how low everything still is. There is no skyline, no towers, just one main building holding a casino, a theater, and restaurants, ringed by sprawling wings of rooms with a pool and a gas station out front. Because early Vegas wasn't selling glamour. It was selling convenience, novelty, and a little desert make-believe to motorists passing through. Then, the road began to fill. The last frontier rode in on a Wild West theme in 1942, but the building that truly changed the game opened on December 26, 1946, the Flamingo, bankrolled by the gangster Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. While everyone else was throwing up roadhouses for passing traffic, Siegel was chasing something far more dangerous and new, a luxurious oasis built for high rollers and big-name entertainment. And just like that, the Strip discovered the split personality it still has today: half roadside convenience, half Hollywood stage set. That tension would power everything to come. While the 1940s planted the seed, the 1950s lit the fuse. By the middle of the decade, the Strip was no longer waiting politely for travelers to show up. It was hunting them. Every new casino had to be brighter, taller, louder, and harder to ignore than the one before it, and an all-out arms race began. It started in 1950 with the Desert Inn, a polished luxury resort that announced Vegas was done being a rough gambling pit. Then, the money started flying. The Sahara and the Sands both opened in 1952. The Riviera punched into the sky in April 1955 as the Strip's first true high-rise. The Tropicana arrived in 1957, and the Stardust blasted in for 1958, dripping with space-age style. And these places were not cheap. According to gaming historian David Schwartz, the Sands cost $4.5 million, the Riviera $8.5 million, and the Tropicana a jaw-dropping $15 million. Watch how the night itself transforms in this reconstruction. In the 1950s, neon stops being decoration and becomes architecture. The Sands' 56-foot sign towered over the road, and the Stardust's enormous glittering display became one of the most famous sights in Vegas history. In 1959, designer Betty Willis distilled the whole mood into a single icon, the "Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas" sign that still greets visitors today. By now, the casinos had cracked the formula that still runs this city. The show gets people through the door, the gambling keeps the lights on, so they bundled it all together: pools, floor shows, lounge acts, and cocktails, and began comping free rooms and meals to keep players glued to the tables. The Sahara's Congo Room ruled the lounge scene, and the Sands Copa Room became the beating heart of Rat Pack Cool. The city even turned the unthinkable into a tourist attraction, throwing dawn bomb parties, timed to the nuclear blasts going off in the desert nearby, complete with atomic cocktails and mushroom cloud souvenirs. But behind all that neon, Vegas had a problem it could no longer hide. The Strip was brutally segregated. In May 1955, the Moulin Rouge opened as the first integrated casino in Las Vegas, and likely the first in the entire country. Yet just down the road, black superstars like Nat King Cole and Sammy Davis Jr. could sell out a showroom and then be marched out the back door, banned from eating, gambling, or even sleeping in the hotels that were paying them. The postcards sold a dream of endless fun. But that dream was not open to everyone, and the people locked out were about to force the entire Strip to change. The 1960s were the decade the Strip grew up, got rich, and got political all at once. And the most important moment had nothing to do with a casino. On March 26, 1960, city officials and black community leaders met at that same Moulin Rouge and signed the Moulin Rouge Agreement, finally desegregating Las Vegas. For the first time, African Americans could legally gamble, stay, and see a show anywhere on the Strip. It didn't erase racism overnight, but it shattered the system that had defined the decade before. While that fight played out, the buildings kept getting bolder. Caesar's Palace opened on August 5, 1966, and blew theming wide open, drowning guests in a fantasy of ancient Rome so they could feel like emperors for a night. But the biggest change wasn't marble or columns, it was money. That same year, reclusive billionaire Howard Hughes checked into the Desert Inn, refused to leave, and simply bought the entire hotel, then kept buying, snapping up casino after casino. In just a few years, he helped drag Vegas out of the shadow of mob financing and into the era of clean corporate cash, a shift the Corporate Gaming Act of 1969 finally made official. And the decade ended on a note nobody could miss. In 1969, the International Hotel opened as the largest hotel in the world, and that July, a comeback-hungry Elvis Presley took its stage and turned the showroom into a global headline. Over at Circus Circus, which opened in 1968 under an enormous big top, the building itself had become the billboard. The Strip had learned a powerful new trick: stop shouting with your sign and start shouting with your architecture. And once corporations realized this single road could be scaled like an empire, Vegas stopped thinking in hotels and started thinking in worlds. By the 1970s, Las Vegas wasn't a desert pit stop anymore. It was a full-blown city, and the Strip had a new mission. It was no longer just trying to impress you, it was trying to contain you. The new blueprint was simple and ruthless: a soaring hotel tower bolted onto a giant low-slung box packed with everything a guest could possibly want, so they would never have a single reason to leave. In this reconstruction, watch the Strip thicken. The open garden courts of the 50s disappear behind solid walls of hotel rooms. The ultimate example opened in 1973. The original MGM Grand, the largest hotel in the world at the time, with 2,084 rooms, a giant showroom, a movie theater, a shopping arcade, and even an arena for Jai Alai. You didn't visit a place like that. You disappeared into it, and the money behind it had gone fully corporate. That same year, Harrah's became the first casino company ever listed on the New York Stock Exchange, proof that Vegas now answered to Wall Street as much as to any backroom handshake. Then came a twist nobody saw coming. In 1972, a book called Learning from Las Vegas hit the architecture world and argued that this supposedly tacky neon strip actually had serious lessons to teach about design and symbolism. Overnight, the city the experts loved to mock became impossible to ignore. The Strip wasn't just a place to lose your money anymore. It was a sealed, self-contained fantasy world, engineered right down to the carpet to keep you inside. And that endless hunger to build bigger was about to collide with a horrifying reality. The 1980s opened in fire. On November 21, 1980, Flames tore through the MGM Grand, and by the time the smoke cleared, 85 people were dead and more than 700 injured. It was one of the deadliest disasters in the state's history, and it shattered the illusion that Vegas was all fun and no consequences. Behind the glamour, this was a business of cramming thousands of people into enormous buildings, and the tragedy forced a brutal reckoning, rewriting fire and safety codes across the entire country. On the surface, the rest of the decade looked quieter, but underneath, Vegas was loading the machine that would explode at the very end of it. The city kept shedding its mob past and embracing corporate ownership in what historians call an early corporate era, a stretch of expansions and renovations rather than bold new resorts. The appetite for spectacle hadn't died. It was simply waiting for someone with enough money and nerve to set it loose. And then, after years of expansion without any true reinvention, one resort arrived that made every casino before it look old. On November 22, 1989, the Mirage opened. It was the first brand new resort on the Strip in over 15 years. It cost a staggering $630 million, and it was the most expensive hotel casino ever built. Out front, a volcano erupted over the sidewalk, ringed by lagoons and lush tropical jungle. The Mirage didn't just add rooms. It turned the street itself into the show, and it proved one thing that would define everything that came after. The 1990s were when the theme wars truly began. The Mirage had proven that outrageous fantasy sold, and now every new resort raced to out-fantasy the last, each one building an entire world on a single street. It started with a castle, when Excalibur dropped a medieval fairy tale onto the South Strip on June 19, 1990. Then came ancient Egypt, when Luxor unveiled a black glass pyramid firing a beam of light into the sky on October 13, 1993. And that very December, the brand new MGM Grand opened with a mind-bending 5,000 rooms, instantly the largest hotel on the planet. But the war was just getting started. New York stacked up a whole Manhattan skyline in 1997. Mandalay Bay and Paris, Las Vegas, complete with its own half-size Eiffel Tower, both landed in 1999. And the Venetian went so far that its creators flew to the real Venice to study its canals and palaces so they could rebuild them, detail by detail, in the desert. The Strip was no longer inspired by the world. It was trying to rebuild the world, one resort at a time. The shows transformed just as fast. The Mirage's famous white tigers helped pull Vegas toward family-friendly spectacle. And then Cirque du Soleil blew up the old idea of a casino show entirely when Mystère premiered on Christmas Day, 1993, the city's first permanent Cirque production. At the opposite extreme, Bellagio opened in 1998, chasing pure elegance, fine art, and those breathtaking dancing fountains, all for a price tag of around $1.6 billion. Even destruction became a show. When the legendary Dunes was blown to pieces in 1993 to clear space for Bellagio, imploding a casino on live television became its own twisted Vegas ritual. Look at this reconstruction near the end of the decade. The Strip no longer looks like a road. It looks like a theme park built for adults, where you could travel through medieval England, ancient Egypt, Manhattan, Venice, and Paris without ever leaving it. And that is the real story of the Las Vegas Strip. In just 50 years, a lonely desert highway became the greatest theater of reinvention on Earth. Roadside motels became neon palaces. Neon palaces became celebrity showrooms. Showrooms became corporate towers, and towers became megaresorts that swallowed the whole boulevard into one enormous stage set. With every decade, the skyline climbed higher, the themes grew louder, and the crowds grew bigger, until somewhere along the way, gambling quietly stopped being the point. The real product became the fantasy itself. And that is exactly why the Strip never feels finished. It was built to keep changing, and it always will.